Hello, and welcome to the first episode of a series that I have honestly no idea where it's going to go, but it felt like something I wanted to try. First of all, I've been Dungeon Master for about 2 years now, and about 6 months ago or so, I started a new campaign with a bunch of fairly brand new players. Like maybe one player's had some 5e experience. For the most part, everyone was very green and never experienced it before. So for the first time ever, I did a pre-generated campaign just for the sake of trying it out, seeing how beneficial it is compared to homebrewing every campaign like I've done previously. So I did the Lost Mines of Phandelver. And overall, it's a pretty good generic sort of campaign. Gives you all your basic sort of early level stuff, like establishing what you need to do when you're in a village or a town, what sort of activities to do, basic level minions and monsters to fight, kind of a plot thread like, oh, we have to undermine the black spider, blah 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 blah. We have to rescue some dwarf. All the basic tropes in D&D kind of unveiled in a way that makes a lot of sense for new players to kind of get grasp and understand how the game goes. Anyways, this is not what this video is about. This is basically going to be my effort to catalog all of the future sessions for this campaign post Lost Mines of Phandelver. Everything now from this point will be homebrewed based on actions the party had taken place during the campaign, and based on every question that I've asked the party on a weekly basis. Every off week, I pose a question to the party pertaining to the characters, like what is your character's greatest fear? Is there a deity they believe in? What part of the party, what person within the party do you find threatening? Which one do you find not threatening at all? I mean, stuff like that, just so that the players have to think about their characters on a week-by-week basis, even when they're not in a session or playing for that weekend. And this way it keeps the characters fresh and also generates a lot of material for me for the campaign, because it takes a lot of work out for me. Anyways, so they finally finished the Lost Mines of Phandelver. They had rescued the last of the Rockseeker brothers, and I already kind of planned what was going to happen to a fair degree post Lost Mines of Phandelver. Because something I definitely want to make an impactful point with all the party members is that time has a consequence of its own. So if you take too long completing a quest or a mission, for example, the world is not like some video games or other RPG settings where you have like a list of quests and it's like, oh, you have this quest, you have this quest, and this quest. Well, I'm going to do this one, and once it's done, then I'll do this, and then I'll do that, or whatever order you want. In my world, if you choose to do one certain route, the other ones might not be there anymore because the world's still spinning, time's still taking place, actions are being done. And so they did the final catacombs, or the mine of Phandelver, basically. And it's basically gets to me to be a 4 to 6 hour dungeon crawl, based on when you enter the mine, deal with all the different monsters and rooms possible. They account for a short rest, basically maybe two, if the party is feeling a little sluggish and need to regain their grounds. But this campaign also has a very good job of enforcing, hey, limit how many rests you take, especially when you're in an unknown dungeon, because bad guys will just keep respawning and more threats will come your way, and thus prolonging the dungeon crawl because you're constantly having to heal. Anyway, so a dungeon that was supposed to take 4 to 6 hours game time ended up taking 36 hours. Like, the party I counted took 5 short rests and a long rest during their entire stay here, and how they managed to do the long rest, that's a video on its own. I might bring that up in the future, not sure, whatever. So I kind of gave them the gimmick, like, you guys are the legends of the lethargic. Like, they're the type of players that they would be in a dungeon, and in game time of like maybe 10 minutes of like combat and checking rooms, they'll be like, all right, let's take another short rest. It's like, all right, we did stuff for 10 minutes, let's take an hour nap. It was hilarious. It did drag things on. Like, this whole dungeon crawl, which should have taken 1, maybe 2 sessions, ended up taking 4. But whatever, players go at their own pace. These are all new players, so I accept that. I move on with that. I work to my best of their ability as well. But anyway, so all the actions and time they spent in this dungeon had ramifications outside the dungeon. Because before they went to the dungeon, they dealt with this small orc camp, like scouts, an orc scouting camp that had been kind of raiding one of the caravans, which is one of the little side quests offered within the Lost Mines of Phandelver to kill time leading up to the final mission. And the party went, dealt with those orc scouts, and then went on to the mine. Now, the way I had it factored out originally is like, all right, cool, they get done with the mine, they make it back to the city, The orcs realize, hey, our scouts never came back. This is a city that is closest to us, where we've been kind of pillaging all their caravans anyway. Let's attack this fucking village. That was my plan originally. But then the party took a day and a half in a dungeon. And then they kind of lost their mule that they had tied outside for their caravan to take them back to the city, got attacked by wolves because it was tied to a tree for 36 hours in the woods. And then yet they were surprised. So all these things going down, I'm like, okay, the party aren't going to be able to make it back now to the city of Phandelver and defend against the raid. So I figured, all right, they're going to come back to the city post-raid. The whole city is just obliterated. All the people are killed. Trying to set up this opportunity for them to go after the orcs, fight a young green dragon, which was also another possible side quest within Lost Mines of Phandelver. So I'm kind of merging the two together, which again, love being a DM where you have some creative liberties. So they make it back towards the city, which they actually managed through a lot of good random charisma checks, managed to get 3 giant lizards as mounts to help them get back at a quicker pace, which again, I was amused that they managed to pull it off, but hey, they did. Cool. So they make it back to the city. The city's in ruins, and their plan was, all right, are we still getting paid for saving this this dwarf guy from the mine? Because we really want to get paid. It's they were more focused on that than, oh my god, this whole village got destroyed. Oh, we need to avenge them, blah, 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 blah. They were very strict to the business, which again, for a party of mercenaries, kind of makes sense. So the guy that they rescued gives him a bunch of money, and one of the party members, who is a half-orc fighter, who is Lawful Evil, he's playing his character in alignment actually fairly well. This is his first D&D experience, I believe, but he's actually been playing his character. It's one of my favorite characters I've ever DM'd for. He is a bit of a headhunter fetish, so people that are slain, especially those he doesn't like, he'll decapitate and keep their skulls and wear them on his belt, via Predator style. And apparently, throughout the earlier parts of the campaign, he definitely did not like the Dwarven's 2 other brothers at all. So when those 2 dwarves are already lying there dead, he just walks up and decapitates them right in front of the last dwarf. And he's just like, well, they don't need it anymore. I'm like, okay, kind of messed up. So the party then are planning what they're going to do next, and I originally had it planned out that since I knew they were going to be getting back way too late at this point, that the city was going to be raided, I was going to have a whole little narrative where this last dwarf, basically, most of the party saw him go to a vault and pull out one specific flask and just chug it down really fast, thinking, oh, it's just alcohol, whatever. But I basically made it an equivalent of a last stand serum. For those of you that watch Naruto or whatever, it's like opening up the 8th gate. It gives you unbelievable strength, power, and prowess at the cost of your life. After some time, this guy was going to immediately die, but he basically drank this whole vial to basically, as I have said out, make him a 14th level frenzy barbarian. So a very, very powerful NPC that joined with the party to help them attack an entire orc establishment with an orc chief and a young green dragon. I figured this would be a good way to try to balance things out, so maybe either the party try to deal with the orcs and this barbarian deals with the dragon alone, or the barbarian fends off most of the orcs and the party just deal with the chief and the dragon. That's kind of what I had figured out. The party decide, though, when they see this dwarven coming out with blood smeared all over him, travel paint style, looking like he's ready to fight, they decide to try to kill him. And I'm like, oh, this is not going to end well at all. So after a few rounds and the party realizing that this guy who they just saved out of nowhere became Hercules in a way, managed to escape from the whole ordeal, a little bit confused. And I'm like, well, he was going to explain what he just did, but the second he came out, you guys just tried to flat out kill him for no rhyme or reason, which I'll get to further. One of my, I'm not going to say one of my issues with the party, but an unexpected development more thoroughly. So the party at this point, I'm like, okay, so they tried to fight and kill the barbarian, which they did not succeed. They sicked their giant lizards, on the barbarian during that fight as well. Who the barbarian just basically just one-shot all these guys. So now they're without mounts. So at this point I'm figuring, okay, there is no way they're going to go after the orcs and the dragon. Because it's going to take them a while to get there. They don't have a powerful NPC that I was originally providing, and I am not the type of person to de-escalate the difficulty of encounters because of based on decisions my parties make. I want them to feel like they're in control of their decisions, but that their decisions have consequences. So if they make a poor choice, bad stuff will happen. So the party then decides to go after the orcs, more like a scouting regime. So they find their way out there, and then they decide, hey, we'll use our half-orc as an interpreter, have one of our party members who actually is former royalty go in and try to set up like an instance where, hey, I'm looking to trade, I have lots of money, blah, 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 and try to go in like demanding things from the orcs rather than try to go around. They're trying a more diplomatic approach with orcs, which, again, I found amusing. But they were rolling very fucking well on all their charisma checks. So I'm like, okay, let's see how this goes. Eventually, the dwarven monk of the party, Vondel Sandtracker, challenged the orc chief to a drinking contest. And at this time, all the party members are trying to spike the orc chief's drink through sleight of hand, because one of the party members, the half-orc fighter, is also an herbalist and collects herbs, so you can try to make potions and stuff like that, or stuff of that degree. He had some nightshade, so he was trying to add it to the alcohol to increase the DC for getting drunk and passing the fuck out. And my dice were on fire at that point, because I think I rolled 3 natural 20s in a row when it came to perception on catching sleight of hand. So now the party members are having, after my orc chief witnesses them spiking a drink, they're like, hey, yeah, this has some good flavor. And now the party members are drinking the nightshade just to not give away what's going on. But long story short, the dwarven monk, Vondel Sandtracker, beats the orcish chief. And at this point, everyone's kind of drunk, and then a party begins. They all start celebrating, hanging out, having a good time. The rock gnome bard, Izzy, decides to try to mount the young green dragon and ride it rodeo style to see if he can get bucked off. I mean, it's all kind of weird. It's like, okay, you went to this orc camp originally, I think, to avenge the village, and now you're just partying with them, which I thought, okay, this could be actually a very brilliant way of trying to bring down the demeanor and the stability of this orc camp, make half the guards super drunk, including the orc chief, which will make taking them down easier. And then some of the party members start discussing amongst themselves, hey, should we just roll with these guys? I mean, they seem pretty fucking cool. In all fairness, they only attacked the village because we kind of killed their scouts, which don't tell them that. And I'm just sitting there like, oh my god. Based on the actions that happened earlier this session and in previous sessions, I mean, there's only one evil character in the party, and that's the half-orc fighter. But everyone else is basically neutral. But a lot of their actions and decisions have all been strongly into the evil side of decision making. Just for the sake of, let's do it, why not? Who gives a shit? Nothing bad's going to happen to us. Repercussions happen. Why did that happen to us? So, at this point right now, I'm starting to realize that this campaign might be slowly becoming a murder hobo campaign, which I have never actually ran. Every campaign I've done was a group of mercenaries eventually become like local legends and heroes of the realm. But running a group of players that maybe slowly shift themselves into the Legion of Doom as opposed to the Justice League could be fascinating. Now, there is one player in the party who actually is a good alignment, and that's Khaleesi, the half-elf rogue. And she does not approve of anything the party's deciding right now. She's like, no, we came here to kill that chief. And the rest of the party's like, maybe not a good idea. I mean, he seems alright. I mean, come on. And then Khaleesi decides, I roll to attack. And that's when I ended the session. The party is all going, what the hell? Why are you attacking him? And she's like, because it's what we're supposed to be doing. And I decided to end the session right there. It's not that we were running late on time. Our time was actually pretty average at that point. But for the length of that combat, potentially, I did not want to go an extra 2 hours dealing with them fighting a bunch of orcs, an orc chief, and a dragon. So I'm like, alright, we'll just start this in the next session and let this tension just build up for the next time. So, yeah, that's basically a synopsis of everything that happened in the last session. It's about right, about 15 minutes. I'm hoping these videos go 15, no more than 20 minutes at any point, because I'm trying to condense a 3 to 4 hour campaign in like 15-minute blocks. But yeah, so that's episode 1 of Dungeons and Diary for the Legends of Lethargy. If this is okay or anything, let me know. This whole series of videos is actually personally inspired by Matthew Colville. If you're not familiar with him and you play Dungeons and Dragons, get out from under that rock you're in. I'm actually going to have a link to his channel down in the doobly-doo, as he always refers to it. But yeah, so it's a project I've been thinking about of documenting my campaign, because one, it'll make it easier for me to look back and be like, all right, what are some of the details, primarily the important details from past sessions? It will be readily available, not just for me, but even for players, especially for a player that maybe misses a session or two, just to kind of catch them up. Anyways, thank you very much for joining me. Have yourselves a good one, and roll well.